Habaragani. I'm David W. Coleman for another Black Focus Radio Info Drop. By now, you all have probably seen the comments across social media as it relates to what the Supreme Court did yesterday. And I'm not going to go into the details of all of that. I'll let you look it up for yourself because you need to. But I will at least give you a couple of comments from two justices, one for and one against. And what I'm talking about is what happened yesterday at the Supreme Court basically gutted the Voting Rights Act of 1964. All of the gains that were made by your ancestors, some of them my friends, were basically flushed down the toilet. And maybe you all don't care, because if I look at what's been going on Facebook over the last week, here's what most of you, and I say you young people, because that ruling yesterday is going to affect you more so than it's going to affect me. And let me tell you why. I'm 65 years old. I have more time behind me than I have ahead of me. But you 20-somethings, you 30-somethings, you've got a long way to go in this life, in this place called America. And it looks like you will not have any representation. But I know what's more important to you is who Megan Thee Stallion is sleeping with, or who Klay Thompson is sleeping with. That's more important. It's more important for you to show black people fighting at malls and on cruise ships. But you don't understand the significance of what happened yesterday. I know, you're saying, oh, I'm just an old fogey. But you see, the things that we fought for in the 60s, and your ancestors, by the way, are the reason why you've been able to do what you do. By the way, where are those black people who were saying that I don't vote because my vote doesn't matter? So let me ask you a question. Those of you who said that, what you saying now? You still say your vote doesn't matter? Well, let me ask you another question. If your vote didn't matter, why was it so important for the white majority in the Supreme Court to strike your voting rights down? You see, if nothing matters, then no people would be concerned about it, right? They shouldn't. Your vote doesn't matter, so yeah, I'm just going to give it away. Yeah, it matters. Because see, now you're not going to have any black representation. We're already seeing this morning that the candidate for Tennessee, for the governor of Tennessee, Marsha Blackburn, is moving to redraw districts as we speak. In other words, when they redraw the districts, what's going to happen is that they're going to redraw all of the districts so that black people will not be able to get representation. That's important. That matters. That affects your homes. That affects your neighborhoods. That affects insurance rates. That affects your mortgage rates. You see, they always say, and I've been saying for years on my show, those who don't know their history are doomed to repeat it. So here we are. We're about to repeat it again. See, I remember, although I wasn't living at the time, but I lived through some of the Jim Crow era. I remember the black codes. I've read about Jim Crow and how the poll taxes and things of that nature was important to keep black people from voting. The grandfather clauses and all of those things that history has told us about. black people going to the polls and having to guess the amount of jelly beans in a jar. And if it was incorrect, then you couldn't vote. That's what this is all about. Yet you're concerned about who's screwing who. By the way, where are those black celebrities? You know, those same black celebrities who have made millions of dollars benefited from voting rights, benefited from those who fought and died for their right to vote. Again, if your right to vote wasn't important, then why have they been doing so much to try to keep you from voting? That's a question that we should ask ourselves. Okay? So, just to be clear, here's what Clarence Thomas said. By the way, the same Clarence Thomas that is in the Epstein files. Okay? Thomas wrote that Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act does not regulate redistricting at all, but said the new ruling will largely put an end to this disastrous adventure in voting rights jurisprudence. Yeah, he's a black guy in the Epstein files. Interesting. Here's what Justice Elena Kagan said, because I found it interesting, because she came out hard. This is what she said. Especially in the South, states soon put in place a host of facially race-neutral devices to systematically disenfranchise African American citizens. Poll taxes, literacy tests, good character exams, property qualifications, convoluted registration processes, all of these and more, when combined with administrative discretion, effectively suppressed the black vote. I'm going to say it again. If your vote wasn't important, why did white people do so much to try to keep black people from voting? You see, I'm not going to get into all the legalese. Certainly you can go out and find that, the specifics. But I want to talk to you today about how it's going to affect you, because I just mentioned Blackburn in Tennessee. All across the South, they're going to be seeking to take your vote or disenfranchise your vote. We just saw in Louisiana a week or so ago what they did to Calvin Duncan. Calvin Duncan, the young man who had spent 28 years in prison for a crime he didn't commit, became the jailhouse lawyer, got out of prison, went to law school, became an attorney, ran a campaign in Louisiana, ended up winning by 68% of the vote, by the way, in a district that is predominantly black. And the white legislators in Louisiana decided to pass a bill that would basically remove that position so this man could not take his seat. This is real, folks. By the way, what did Clay do to Megan? Or what did Megan do to Clay? See, if you really understood, you'd understand just how significant, or insignificant, I should say, the crap that you all are posting on Facebook. This country is burning down around you, and you're too busy concerned about an entertainer and a basketball player, while your rights are being diluted and destroyed. It's disturbing to me on all kinds of grounds, because we as black adults have failed our young people. We failed to teach them. We failed to make them pay homage to those who came before them. I often ask the question, do the young people of the day have the conscience and convictions of our ancestors? of the people who stood in the gap for them, because those people during the 60s, they weren't doing it for themselves, because most of them understood that the fight that they were having was not going to necessarily benefit them, but it was going to benefit their children's children. And you all have simply frittered it away. Now, I have a solution. I talked about it on my last Black Focus Radio Info Drop. Here it is. The only thing that white people understand is money. Okay? And all of these southern states now, who are now moving to begin to try to erase your vote. All of these states now, you have a solution for them. Because now we're going to see, black young people, what you believe in. We're going to see if you're willing to stand up for rights. We saw the young people at South Carolina State stand up this week. We're going to see if you are ready for this fight. You're ready to fight one another. You're ready to disrespect one another. But this is the fight of your life. And if you're not ready to do it, then you're going to be doomed in this country. Malcolm X said, if you keep asking the system that created your problem to fix it, you're going to stay in that problem. So what can we do? We can throw our hands up and say, see, that's just white folks. Or you can get to work. It starts with their pocketbooks. Let me say it again. It starts with your pocketbook. Billions and billions of dollars are being earned for white people off of black labor. Let me tell you why. College football, college basketball. Look at these schools. Look at their athletic programs. You see, we're going to have to call on our young black athletes to make a stand. And that stand is clear. Oh, you're saying, well, Dave, what are you talking about? Let me go back to 2015, just quickly. The University of Missouri. You all remember that, right? Do you? Do you know what happened at the University of Missouri? Well, let me just quickly tell you. Racism was running rampant on that campus. The students were upset. The president wasn't listening. Then the black athletes on the football team got involved. And they said, if something isn't done about the racism and the bigotry that is going on this campus, we're not going to play. So what I'm saying to you is, and the solution that I'm offering to you, we've got prima facie evidence that it will work. The president, athletic director, ended up resigning. Because they knew that if those black athletes didn't play, it was going to cost the University of Missouri millions of dollars. Millions. Hello? So they resigned. Now, that's the short story. Go look it up for yourself. 2015, the University of Missouri. I'll offer that account to you because, see, that's what we've got to do now. We've got to go to our black athletes that are playing for the University of Tennessee, the University of Mississippi, the University LSU, Florida, all of these states, Georgia, Texas, all of these black athletes who are making billions of dollars for these universities. We have to put a conscious mind in them. Now, how we do that? That has to come from the parents. It's not too late, but we've got to go to them and say, hey, look, for the cause, we need you to step up. Because if you go back and you look at history, those people who were fighting for the rights that we have today were young people. Those people who sat at the lunch counters. Those people who were attacked. The Little Rock Nine. Those people who marched on the Edmund Pettus Bridge. Those were majority young people. That's our power. And if you're not willing to stand up for your future, because again, my future is done. I'm just living on a dream right now. Because any day I could die. But the majority of you young people out there are going to be here. You're going to be under the thumb of the racism and the bigotry that has reared its ugly head in America in 2024 and beyond. The question is, what are you willing to do for your freedom? That's what you've got to start asking yourselves. Malcolm X said, and I'll close on this, you get your freedom by letting the enemy know you're willing to do anything to be free. Then and only then will you be free. I want to thank you for listening. I will expound on this further on the show Black Focus Radio. But this has been a Black Focus Info Drop. Habaragani.